Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya, Lord Sugardev, Prabhupada, Nirvarga, thank you for coming. And today is the Divine Appearance Day of Sri Ramanujacarya. His picture is on the second on the left, I think. Or is he the far left? No. Where is he?
Yeah, second to the left.
Second to the left, yeah. And we're going to read from Srila Gurudev's lecture about him that he gave in the year 2000. Srila Gurudev, when I refer to Srila Gurudev, it's Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. Okay. Today is the Avirbhav, birthday of Sri Ramanujacarya. Ram Navami, the birthday of Lord Ram. Ram Navami is on Sunday. So we'll be celebrating here. Ram Navami, the birthday of Lord Ram, is also coming very soon. Throughout their entire lives, Ram and Sita Devi always had problems, even though Ram is God. And Sita Devi is his Swarup Shakti, internal potency. They showed by example that in this world, even if you are a king and have a very strong personality, you will have to suffer. So try to be like Ram, Sita, and Hanuman. Don't be worried. There are many stories of the lives of great personalities that illustrate this, such as the life of Sri Ramanujacarya. Sri Ramanujacarya is an incarnation of Lakshman, Lord Ram's younger brother. What is the incarnation of? Lakshman. And he accepted the Sri Sampradaya. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada took many teachings from him, such as the duties of sannyasis, the duties of disciples, and the etiquette of the Vaishnava. He utilized 108 teachings. We follow these teachings, and we have also published them in our Bhagavat Pachika and Gaudiya Pachika, Hindi and Bengali magazines. Did you break?
I placed my iPad somewhere.
Oh, is that it behind you? No, it's right. Did you look in the boutique? Sri Ramanujacarya took birth in a simple family. His mother and father were not very wealthy, but they were of a high Brahmin caste and they were very learned. Peter donated some flowers today if you want to. And
yeah,
you saw them.
Once everything's back in the old one.
Okay, but you saw them?
Yeah.
Chandrani put them in vases.
I know, I saw it. Thank you so much.
Ramanuja was an outstanding boy from his childhood. While under the guidance of a Mayavadi guru named Yadavacharya, he was very careful in his studies. One day, when his guru was giving an impersonal explanation of a verse that contained the word tapyasana, he compared the lotus eyes of the Lord to the hind part of a monkey, which is reddish near its tail. Hearing this from his Gurudev's mouth, Ramanuja began to cry in great pain. He felt great grief in his heart that his Gurudev had used such a bad analogy for describing the lotus eyes of the Lord. After collecting himself, he very politely asked if he could say something about the verse. Yadavacharya assented, and Ramanuja very nicely gave many explanations according to Sanskrit grammar. He said that the term tapyasana actually means one who brings water, and that is the sun. The lotus blossoms by the potency of the sun, and therefore the Lord's eyes are compared to the lotus, not the monkey. When Yadavacharya heard this, he thought, this boy is dangerous. He is very expert and is giving such nice explanations. In the future, he might uproot all the impersonal teachings from the Vedas, and so I must kill him. So the guru was wanting to kill his disciple. Protected by the Lord. Fearing in this way, he announced to the boys that they would be going on an outing in a particular day. He also very confidentially told a few of his disciples of his plan to kill Ramanuja on that day. Within the group of these disciples, one boy was a cousin brother of Ramanuja named Govinda. He discreetly came to Ramanuja and quietly informed him of their teacher's intention. He said, "Oh, brother, you should be very careful, for our teacher is planning to kill you tonight when we are all out together." Hearing this from Govinda, Ramanuja immediately left that place. Throughout the day and night, he passed through the dense forest, and it was difficult for him to discern his way, especially at night. Seeing his dear devotee in such a state, the Lord appeared in the form of Bhardvaj, and holding a conch in his hand, showed Ramanuja the way. Thus, within no time at all, Ramanuja crossed the entire distance of the forest, and he found himself standing outside a village. After some days, out of compassion for Yadvacharya, with a desire to deliver him, he again began studying under his guidance. It's compassion. So he went, his guru's going to kill him, and then he goes back to him. Yes. After some years, Ramanuja converted Yadvacharya to Vaishnava philosophy, whereupon his teacher became his disciple. At one point thereafter, Ramanuja began hearing of the qualities of a great Vaishnava guru in South India by the name of Sri Jamunacharya, and eventually became Sri Jamunacharya's disciple. The next section is called The Quarrelsome Wife. You want to read? Anyone want to read about the quarrelsome wife? Very nice.
But also, it sounds different from other times I've heard the story. Wasn't it that didn't he meet Lord Ram in the forest? Remember what I'm talking about?
Oh.
Maybe this is.
Okay, I don't know. Sometimes they could be different in different calls. I don't know.
But that's what I was thinking. Okay, so the quarrelsome wife. Later on, Ramanujacarya married, and his wife was very quarrelsome. Her behavior was discourteous and uncooperative, and incidents would often take place which he would somehow have to tolerate. A disciple of Sri Yamunacharya, that famous Vaishnava who wanted to be his guru, and elder godbrother of Ramanujacarya, named Kanchipurna, came to Ramanujacharya's village along with his wife. So Kanchipurna and his wife came to the village. So Ramanujacharya accepted this Kanchipurna as his Shiksha guru. So he accepted him as like a guru who teaches him. So for example, my initiating guru is Srila Bhaktivedanta Van Goswami Maharaj, but my Shiksha guru is Devi. So Ramanujacarya accepted this Kanchipurna as his Shiksha guru. One day, when his Shiksha guru's wife was taking some water from a well, she met Ramanujacharya's wife, who had also come to a well for drawing water. It so happened that while taking the water out of the well, some water of the pot of Kanchipurna's wife spilled into the pot of Ramanujacharya's wife. Although this was a small incident, Ramanuja's wife became furious and insulted Kanchipurna's wife with abusive language. And it's also, we should know that, if I remember correctly, Kanchipurna, he's of a lower caste than Ramanujacharya. Ramanujacharya, he's from a Brahmin caste, so the highest priestly order of people in Indian society, whereas Kanchipurna, I don't recall. Do you recall what caste Kanchipurna was in? A lower one. And so then Ramanujacharya's wife is becoming furious for this because she's in that rigid structure. She'd be saying, "Oh, you've contaminated my water." So Kanchipurna, that Shiksha guru, became hurt when he heard about this, and without informing Ramanujacharya, he and his wife left that place and went back to their home in the town of Srirangam in South India. And that Srirangam is where Yamunacharya and a very large temple are. So when Sri Ramanuja came to know that his wife's behavior had offended a Vaishnava, he felt very bad and thought, she's committed Vaishnava aparad. She's been very mean and offensive towards a person who's very soft-hearted and kind, and is devoted to service to the Lord. She has such an offensive mentality. I must do something about it. The trick. One day, a hungry Brahmana, so a person of that higher caste, came to Ramanuja asking for some food. Ramanuja sent this Brahmin to his wife, telling him, "Go to my home and tell my wife that I sent you. She will give you some food." When that Brahmana came to Ramanuja's wife, she boldly insulted him again and again. She told him he should get out of there, and that there was no food for him. Returning to Ramanuja, the Brahmana reported what happened, and Ramanuja replied, "Wait here for a few minutes." Is there more to that as to why she insulted him?
He was poor,
Okay.
so she considered him inferior.
So for anybody who didn't hear, Guru Devi said the reason why she insulted him is because this man was poor, and so the wife considered him to be inferior. So Ramanuja is now back with that Brahmana who he sent to his wife, and he says, "Wait here for a few minutes." And so Ramanuja then goes and writes a letter to his wife, as though it was written by her father, stating, "Oh, my dear daughter, I am arranging the marriage of my son, your brother, so you should come. Please bring your husband with you." So he's now forged a letter that seems to be from his wife's father that's saying, "Oh, your brother's getting married. Come back quickly and bring your husband." So writing these words very nicely, he folded that letter and tied it with colorful threads. And along with that, he sent a coconut and other auspicious items. He then gave that letter to the Brahmana and said, "Now go again to my wife. She'll welcome you very nicely this time." And so the Brahmana went again. After reading that letter, Ramanuja's wife's behavior completely changed. This time, she welcomed him warmly and sweetly and offered him all kinds of palatable foods and sweets. When Ramanuja came home, his wife told him about the marriage. She cited her father's request for both of them to come and request him to please come along. Ramanuja said, No, I cannot come, for I am very busy. You may not go now with this Brahmana. Don't be late." So the next one is accepting sannyasa. So after his wife then left with that Brahmana, and after that, he locked the door of his house and went up to that holy place, Sri Rangam, to meet his guru, Sri Ramanujacaraya. He wanted to take sannyas, the renounced order of life from him, receive some special renounced order of life. But when he reached that town, that city, he found that his guru had just passed away, and his disciples were walking in a funeral procession with his divine body. Ramanuja felt very disheartened and sad. He asked them to stop for a moment. He wanted them to uncover the transcendental body so that he could take darshan of his Gurudev's divine form. He observed that all the fingers on one of his Gurudev's hand were open, and on the other, 3 fingers were closed. He inquired from the disciples all around as to why this was, and he wanted to know what had happened. No one could answer. They said, "We didn't notice it before. It must have happened just now." Ramanuja became silent, and after some time he spoke, addressing Sri Ramanujacarya's transcendental body. So he's speaking right to his guru's body. He said, "Now I will first of all write a Vaishnav commentary on Vedanta, and I will preach that Vaishnav commentary throughout India." One finger opened, and Ramanuja spoke further. "I will take 3 Dandi sannyasa right now, and I'll preach the message of Vaishnav Dharma and your teachings." 3 Dandi sannyasa is being initiated into the highest order of renounced life. So when Sri Ramanujacaraya heard that, his second finger opened. Ramanujacaraya said, I will systematically write about Vaishnava etiquette, explaining the behavior required to execute pure devotional service, and what precautions should be taken. I will also preach this throughout India. After uttering this third statement, Sri Ramanujacaraya observed, along with all present, that the three of Yamunacharya's fingers had now opened. Then and there, Sri Ramanujacaraya formally accepted Tridandi Sannyasa from Sri Yamunacharya. The ideal disciple. What is the duty of an ideal disciple? He should not merely stay with his guru. He should try to give his energy by body, mind, and words, and try to serve him according to his desires, to his guru's desires. He should not just be present physically, thinking something exciting is going to happen, or remaining unenthusiastic to serve. That is not a disciple, but rather something quite opposite. A true disciple always desires with heart and mind to better serve his guru. Sri Ramanujacaraya had now formally taken initiation from Sri Yamunacharya. Afterwards, all the disciples of Sri Ramanujacaraya, who were great scholars and who had served their Gurudev for so many years, came together. Having seen the extraordinary characteristics and personality of Sri Ramanujacarya, they collectively decided that he should be appointed as the next acharya after their guru, the next head of their lineage. And they honored him with that seat in Sri Rangam. Sri Ramanujacarya accepted the orders of his godbrothers, but before sitting and acting as the acharya, he went to each of his godbrothers for 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, or 1 year, and served each of them. He has formally endeavored to understand the teachings of Sri Ramanujacarya, since he had not gotten the opportunity to spend much time with him. After serving and satisfying them, Sri Ramanujacarya commenced his role as the leader of the Sri Sampradaya in Sri Rangam. So this is really amazing. I mean, he is showing the example of what it means to be an ideal disciple. And so we're hearing that the ideal disciple is not sitting around waiting, thinking, okay, something great's going to happen today. But they're thinking, what is the best thing for my guru? What would my guru want me to be doing? What would be the thing that could be most beneficial to them today? And even though he didn't get to spend time directly with his guru, at least in this physically manifest activities, but he got to, so what he did instead was he spent at least 2 months and up to 12 months with each and every one of the principal disciples of his guru, so he could get to learn from them and get to understand them and get to serve them. So rather than, he didn't sit there and say, okay, now bring me my food, bring me my prasadam, okay, now it's time for me to go, I'm going to go do this. Instead, he was the one who was cooking the prasadam, saying, okay, how can I do this? And he learned through them. What it meant to serve his guru. So, Sampradaya and Sri Rangam. So now Sri Ramanujacarya, he's left his family life. He's taken the full renounced order of life, and he's in this big holy city called Sri Rangam, and he's now the head of the lineage. So this is from Srila Gurudev. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj says, we should carefully follow Sri Ramanujacharya's example. Not only should we intimately serve our Gurudev, we should also respect and properly honor our godbrothers and godsisters. If someone is senior to us, having served our Guru longer, we should show that person great honor. If someone is equal to us, we should give friendly honor to him. And if we encounter someone in an inferior position and who is serious about learning, we should always be merciful. We should try to perform devotional service in a very harmonious way. Refuting the impersonalists. So to give everybody also just a little bit of background, at this time, the time of this writing, in India, there was a very prevalent philosophy, popular philosophy that was saying God isn't a person, God's a big impersonal nothing, and you are that same impersonal nothing. It was propagated by a person named Sri Shankaracharya, who we recognize to be an incarnation of Shiva sent to perform a specific function. And that function is to take those who are naturally tend to be going to the Lord and praying to Krishna saying, please give me more stuff, please give me more stuff, please give me more stuff. And
to destroy.
yeah, in order to destroy and distract them, take them away, and so they wouldn't be creating impediments and problems for those who were truly approaching the Lord for pure bhakti, that is to say, service for the sake of service. Is that okay to say it that way? Okay. So refuting these impersonalists, when Sri Ramanujacaraya, so this is also all happening around the year 1000. So when Sri Ramanujacaraya officially became the leader of his lineage, he began preaching the cult of Sri Yamunacharya very strongly. In South India, two impersonalist texts are very prominent, Shaiva and Shankaracharya. So Shankaracharya is that what I just mentioned. So his followers subscribe to verses from the Vedas like Sarvam. They subscribe to the Vedanta sutras like Sarvam, Kavalidam, Brahma, and Tat Dvat Asmi. So in that, which translates to, they think themselves impersonal Brahman, and they think everything comes from Brahma. So meaning they think themselves to be God, and that everything is coming from them. The Shaiva school considers Lord Shiva to be the ultimate truth, and they want to merge into him. So it's described in the text from India that there are different types of liberation, and there's different types of spiritual goals. And there's spiritual and material goals. Material goals can be put into one of four categories. You either want economic development, sense gratification, general religiosity, or liberation. Liberation meaning an end to the suffering of, I have this, now I don't have it. I have this, I'm really excited, I'm going to lose it. I don't have anything, I'm really sad. That kind of suffering. And even just the suffering of like, why am I like still going up and down on this roller coaster of stuff? So from there those are all material goals. Then there's spiritual goals, which comes as one has a spiritual form and a spiritual identity, and a spiritual realized in one's spiritual relationship, an eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord. Some groups would then desire to merge into the body of the Lord, but that falls into that category of more into like liberation. So it's a nothingness. As bhaktas, we would completely reject that because it is spiritual suicide, because one's soul rejects one's relationship and instead is just attempting to be floating in nothing. There's a few other ones, like you get the body, similar to the Lord, you have 4 arms. You get to live on a planet near the Lord. You get to remember things very well. So I'm not there yet. And
living on the planet, having one with.
I did those too. So similar form. Oh, so I guess then that's on the same opulences. And then much further is where we as Gaudiya Vaishnavas aim, which is a deep personal relationship with the Lord in his personal abode, where one is completely, I don't want to say unnecessarily unaware of his opulences, but is so enraptured by his beauty that his opulences become like diminished. Not diminished, but it becomes insignificant. So it's like the example would be, in this case, imagine salt is like opulence. And if you have 1 pound of salt, things are very salty. And sugar, on the other hand, is like its beauty. And if you have 1 pound of salt and 1 pound of sugar, you put them together, it's still going to taste pretty salty. But if you have, say, 1,000 pounds of sugar and 10 pounds of salt, it's going to taste very sugary and very sweet. And the salt in this case, you actually have more salt than you had before when you only had 1 pound. But because the sugar is so intense and so sweet, you don't even notice it. So the example I'm giving is that in Krishna's form, where it's so this deep personal relationship, the beauty part is so overpowering that even though there is more opulence,
Not just beauty, it's sweet human life pastimes and relationship.
So it's not just his beauty, it's his sweet human-like pastimes and relationship, and that is so enrapturingly sweet that even though you have more salt, you have more opulence than you did before. Like today we were in these like big like financial buildings that were in, you saw it was like down by the bay, like huge towers, and there's marble everywhere. So much opulence, but you can't even taste it because you're so enraptured by the sweetness of a personal relationship with him. And that was basically the end, but I lost the page.
So, with the
Wait,
street,
there's a whole part about them stealing a book, and Shardams took it back, and then they wanted to kill him.
This one was different. This one was from, I think we need to see the one from Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Samaraj. Because we didn't hear about the blind king's daughter, the king's blind daughter.
Why don't you go there?
Let's see.
Greetings. Was that the
And I
end?
thought Gurudev talked about all that, about Quraysh.
It closed.
I was at the end, and it was down with just he defeats the impersonalists.
Sorry, the article closed.
That's my bad.
There's a lot more.
Oh, 2 lectures on pure bhakti. Okay, anyways. Sannyas. That was the end, you're right. That's the end of Gurudev, but there's a second lecture by Gurudev here. You want Gurudev or you want Bharti Maharaj next? What's the same thing?
If Gurudev had it to give it,
And it's, that was the end here.
about Quraysh.
Srila Maharaj probably does.
Yeah, either one. Gets to
so
about
with this
Quraysh.
salt metaphor, like it's not possible to have the same sweetness and relationship if you're only relating to Lakshmi Narayan, like Ramanujacaraya is, correct?
Right. So, what she's asking, and I don't think that I wasn't saying this so well, is that when one's on like the outer relationships, I mean, it's still extremely like high to have experienced one's like relationship with God and His kingdom. It's much more of like the sense and terms that we think about when we think of God. I'm even saying like that, like kind of like Westerners, like He's God. You know, He has big throne, big kingdoms. In this case, He's being fanned with a chamara fan. And He has 4 arms, and He has a conch shell. He's all powerful. He's also a little less like intimidating than like the Western God, where He has a flower garland on. There's bees always around. He has beautiful locks of hair. The smell of tulsi rising from his feet, just an offer to his feet, can completely transform a person who's completely just stuck in the spiritual sky and bring their consciousness into the realm of bhakti. But anyway, I think he wears a dhoti too. But there it's like extreme opulence, like the towers that we saw today, like these marble and gold. Imagine lapis lazuli too, and diamonds and jewels. And so that's like so much salt. So much. But it's just salt. There's no sugar. There's no sugar in Vaikuntha, right? No real sweetness. Yeah. But in Vrindavan, there's even more
sweet,
salt.
It's full of ecstasy and love.
Yeah, it's not like it's bad, but it's like it's just purely opulence. The other big thing that we learn is how it's not as there's still a wall between oneself and the divine in that case, because it's still like, I'm worshiping you, you're so great, and compared to worshiping him with the fullness of one's heart. The gopis, so
Okay, so we have more on Ramanuja.
okay, you wanna go?
Good. Good philosophical exposition.
And so that was really good.
I learned it all from you.
Nice. And there's one more lecture we're going to read by Srila Bhakti Bharti Goswami Maharaj. And if you hear me ever say Srila Maharaj, that's who I'm referring to. And his picture is second up there. Oh yeah, where was he? Oh my gosh.
He's in one of the drawers.
Hiding. When did you find him?
Like 2 days ago.
Aw.
I'm thinking he's just like chilling there.
Wait, second in that?
Yeah, second one. The first is Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj. He's been missing for so long. Good find.
Evil.
It's interesting because Nishinga arrived in America today.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. Okay, so here's another story about Ramanujacaraya. Then people proposed, "You have come so far. You should take darshan of Shri Ranganath." Ramanuja replied, "No, I will not see that cruel lord. He did not allow me to have darshan of my guru. Nothing can happen without his wish, so I will not see him either." Excuse me. Afterwards, he accepted sannyas in front of Jamunacharya's portrait. For this reason, people consider him the disciple of Jamunacharya, because Nam, Vigraha, so Nam is the name, Vigraha is the deity, and Sarup, the form, are one and the same. Then he was given the name Ramanuja. Jamunacharya left his body before Ramanuja could meet him in person, and in spite of this, Ramanuja understood his guru's instruction. What lesson do we learn from this? That guru reveals himself to a person who is surrendered. Good lesson. That's wow. Fasting without darshan of the Lord. Once, while Ramanuja was in Puri, he found some discrepancy with one of the sevaks of Lord Jagannath. So the same night, Lord Jagannath transported him to Kurmashetra and Ipalaquin. However, seeing no Vishnu deity there, he fasted for 3 days, thinking, "How can I accept prasad without taking darshan of Vishnu?" At that time, Korma, who was covered with sandalwood paste, Korma is the tortoise deity, tortoise incarnation. At that time, Korma, who was covered with sandalwood paste, there's a rule in South India that the deity is covered with sandalwood paste, was mistaken by Ramanuja for a Shiva Linga, and for this reason he was not accepting any prasad. Oh, who mistook it?
You repeat that?
Yeah. He was in Puri. Want me to repeat the whole paragraph? Yeah. Okay. Once while Ramanuja was in Puri, he found some discrepancy with one of the sevaks of Lord Jagannath. So that same night, Lord Jagannath took him in a palanquin to Kurmashetra. However, seeing no Vishnu deity there, because he was thinking there's no Vishnu deity there, he fasted for 3 days, thinking, "How can I accept prasad without taking darshan of Vishnu?" At that time, Korma, who was covered with sandalwood paste, there's a rule in South India that deity is covered with sandalwood paste, was mistaken by Ramanuja for a Shiva lingam, and for this reason he was not accepting any prasad. Finally, the Lord revealed to him, I am not a Shiva linga, I am Korma. Afterwards, Ramanuja happily worshipped the Lord and honored prasad. Now here's the story we've been all waiting for. Koresh, the sad Shishya.
No, it's
Sut. That's so funny. It's like the pieces of light. Koresh, Sat Shishya. In due course of time, Ramanuja became. They should have his. In due course of time, Ramanuja began attracting many disciples. At one point, he was awarding Diksha to hundreds. At that time, only Brahmins were accepted as disciples, but Ramanuja initiated, accepting all, regardless of caste. Ramanuja propounded, it is better to be consumed by a tiger than to visit a temple of Lord Shiva. The mood of worshipping Shiva, considering him as supreme, even higher than Vishnu or Narayan, is rejected here by Ramanuja. Vaishnavas worship Lord Shiva as the foremost Vaishnav, the greatest devotee of the Lord. Such worship of Lord Shiva is not prohibited. There was a disciple of Ramanuja named Koresh. When the Shaivites observed that many other Shaivites were converting to Vaishnavism, they thought, Ramanuja is spoiling all of them. So the Chola king, who was also a Shaivite, invited Ramanuja to his palace for a debate. Knowing that his guru's life was in danger, Koresh requested Ramanuja to change into ordinary clothes and go to Sri Rangapatnam, and he went to the king's palace in his stead. When Koresh arrived, the Chola king asked him, do you believe that there's no other supreme truth beyond Shiva? Koresh replied, yes, there is. Jonam asti tata param. Jona, a unit of calculation, is greater than Shiva. This statement infuriated the Chola king, who thus ordered his men to kill Koresh, who he assumed was Ramanuja. But remembering that Ramanuja previously saved his daughter, he spared his life, but ordered his men to pluck the very eyes with which he had read the sastras. Afterwards, he was sent back to Rangakshetra, Srirangam, where he was left to maintain himself by begging for the remainder of his life. When Ramanuja came to know of this, he ordered Koresh to go to Lord Bhardraj to ask for a boon. Koresh went to Bhardraj and asked that nothing inauspicious should happen to the Chola king and all the citizens of his country who were at fault for not having opposed the king. After he returned, Ramanuja sent him back, saying, "You do not ask anything from me. I still require you for more service." So, by the mercy of Lord Bhardraj, Koresh got his eyes back. Well, kind of got lost. I thought Koresh had got his eyes back from his guru.
I know, Gurdev tells that his guru just went like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, the reconciliation is that it was by the mercy of Bhardraj, deity.
Yeah, okay.
Guru was a manifestation of the deity.
Koresh had a photographic memory. Once he accompanied Ramanuja to Kashmir, where they visited a Vaishno Devi temple in Shakti Pita. The library there contained the Bodhayan Vritti. When Koresh inquired if he could read the Vritti, the response was, no, the worms have eaten it. The Saraswati Devi presented the book to Ramanuja. Koresh read it day and night until he memorized it completely. Later, when the Kashmiris discovered that Ramanuja and Koresh were in possession of that book, they sent some men on horses to confiscate it. After they seized the book, Ramanuja became dejected. However, Koresh, having memorized the whole book, reproduced it exactly from memory and offered it to Ramanuja. Later, the reproduced version was compared with the original book housed in the library, and it matched perfectly. On the basis of this, Bodhayan Vritti, Ramanuja went on to write the Sri Vasya, his commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. It's almost. I have sold myself for Guru Seva. Ramanuja had a disciple named Bhardraj, and his wife's name was Lakshmi. There was another wealthy disciple, Yogesh, in the same town. Once, while Ramanuja was visiting that town, he did not go to the residence of Yogesh. Instead, he went to Bhardraj's residence. Bhardraj used to maintain himself by begging and serving the Lord. When Ramanuja approached his residence, Bhardraj's wife, Lakshmi, did not step out to greet her guru. Ramanuja understood that this was due to the fact that she did not even have proper clothes to cover herself. So Ramanuja tossed her 2 bed sheets, and with which she could use to wrap around herself and step outside to offer pranam. Lakshmi was very beautiful, and a local businessman was attracted to her beauty. Realizing that there were no items in the house to serve her guru and the accompanying guests, she approached that businessman and requested from him some items for her home. Lakshmi promised, first I will render seva to my guru, and later I will fulfill your desire. The businessman became very excited and sent more than what she had asked for. Using these resources, Lakshmi served her guru and all his disciples very well. When Bhardraj returned home from begging, he saw that his guru had already arrived with so many disciples. He asked his wife how she had arranged for the feast when he was not able to collect a single item that day. She told him, first honor your prasad, then I will explain. But Bhardraj insisted. Lakshmi said, you often quote that we should render Guru Seva even by sacrificing our whole wealth. I am your property, so today I have sold myself for the sake of rendering Guru Seva. When Ramanuja realized what had transpired, he instructed Bhardraj and Lakshmi to go and offer the businessman some of his Mahaprasad remnants. Sure enough, after the businessman honored them, his heart completely changed, so much so that he offered his Dandavat pranams to Lakshmi. She told the businessman, this is not my glory, it is the glory of my Gurudev. Overwhelmed, the businessman became a disciple of Ramanuja and served him throughout his life. From this incident, we can understand the greatness of Ramanuja. I can go to hell to serve my Guru. Once, while Ramanuja was residing at Shalipurna's ashram for 4 months, he noticed that Shalipurna's servant, Govinda, would roll about on his Gurudev's bed after the bed was already made. Unable to fathom the conduct, and hence, considering Govinda a hypocrite, Ramanuja warned him, you will have to go to hell if you don't respect your Guru. You're tossing around on your Guru's bed? What kind of disciple are you? Shalipurna heard this and realized that Ramanuja did not understand Govinda's heart. To resolve the misunderstanding, he summoned Govinda and asked, are you lying in my bed and tossing around? Govinda said, yes, Guruji. Shalipurna inquired, don't you know that just by crossing over the shadow of one's spiritual master, not to speak of lying on his bed, one will go to hell? Govinda said, yes, you have made me aware of this long ago. Then Shalipurna asked, then do you have so much interest to go to hell? Govinda replied, I don't mind going to hell. I do so to examine the bed thoroughly to ensure that there are no rough, naughty spots or other elements on the bed that might disturb your sleep. It doesn't matter if I have to go to hell for this.
So he was pressing it down.
Yeah. It's Seva. Ramanuja was delighted to hear this explanation. Shri Ramanujacaraya ki.
Jai.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Gaura Premanande. Oh, we don't end it from here. Yeah. Sure. Mahapashai Govinde Nama Bhame Vaishnavi Rajan Vishwasunajayate
It's on page 228, but it's page 240.
242.
Sorry, 243 and 244.
And it's also posted
Posted on the red piece
on
of
the
paper.
red, so yeah.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Sorry, she's which
Yeah.
It's the usual.
This one, right?
Yeah, slant.
Yeah, so we start with this, this one,
I
and
never-
then we go into this one. So you have to, yeah, so that's the
43 and
third.
44.
English should be good, so thanks. Hey.
Who would like a plate? Can I make each one of you a plate? Does anybody have any allergies or any dietary things?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does anybody want any bread?
Cool. Which side is it slanting? Like this. So it has to come halfway. Like that. Perfect. Thank you. Sorry.